بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين ألف لام ميم
إلهي عظم البلاء وبرح الخفاء وانكشف الغطاء وانقطع الرجاء أضاقت الأرض ومنعت السماء وأنت المستعان وإليك المشتكى وعليك المعول في الشدة والرخاء اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد أولي الأمر الذين فرضت علينا طاعتهم وعرفتنا بذلك منزلتهم ففرج عنا بحقه فرجا عاجلا قريبا كلمح البصر أو هو أقرب يا محمد يا علي يا علي يا محمد اكفياني فإنكما كافيان وانصراني فإنكما ناصران يا مولانا يا صاحب الزمان الغوث 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 أدركني 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 الساعة 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 العجب 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 يا أرحم الراحمين بحق محمد وآله الطاهرين.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا وحبيبنا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الصادقين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear respected viewers, for another week with us on The Guided. This week's topic is pre-marriage. Pre-marriage is something that is a topic which is related to all the single people. The married people, you've already been past this stage, so inshallah this one's for the single people, and inshallah next week we will have the post-marriage topic, inshallah. This week with us we have Sheikh Nemi Farhat. Sheikh, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Thank you for joining us once again.
It's a pleasure all the time to be here.
Jazakumullah khair. So we will begin the show inshallah as per usual with an introduction by the Sheikh, and then we'll get straight into the questions. Sheikh, tafadal.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم المحمود هو الله جل جلاله والمصلى عليه محمد وآله اللهم صل على محمد وآله. When the topic of marriage is discussed, many narrations, verses and stories come to mind. It's one of the most common topics or relevant topics that we can all connect to. Whether you are in your youth time, planning to get married, hoping to get married, or as a parent who is looking forward for this big day for your children, you can all connect to this topic and inshallah benefit from it. One of the questions that we can ask when it comes to marriage is why we seek to get married. Is it to fulfill our sexual desires only? Although this is something important and part of who we are as a human beings, but it's not a secret that we can fulfill these desires without committing to a marriage relationship and all the responsibilities that surround it. You can fulfill these desires without going through the steps of building a house, building a family, and taking the responsibility of your family. This is why we believe there is another reason, or there are more than one reason behind this action. If we look at the philosophy of marriage, we can mention three important points. Number one, it is part of our nature. It is part of the nature of the human beings to be in groups and to establish new groups. We get married so we don't stay alone, to be in a group and to establish a new group through the family that we want to, inshallah, produce together. The second reason for marriage is to secure the continuation of the human race. This is something that we don't think about when we approach marriage, but it is part of our nature. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala placed this desire inside our soul to get married in order to secure the continuation of the human race, because the human race cannot continue away from the action of marriage. The third reason why we seek to get married is a point that a great scholar and philosopher mentioned, Al-Shahid Al-Mutahhari, rahmatullahi alayh. When he speaks about marriage, he says there's a certain level of maturity that you can't reach except through getting married and establishing a family. Only through getting married and establishing a family, you move from the state of being selfish to the state of being selfless. You move from the state where you concentrate on yourself to start concentrating on your partner, and then to start concentrating on your kids that you will, inshallah, produce together with your partner. These are the three main reasons why we seek to get married, and inshallah tonight we can benefit from the questions altogether that will be asked. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.
Ahsan, Sheikh.
Ahsan Allahu ilayk.
Sheikh, so we'll get stuck straight into the questions, inshallah. Marriage and Islam. One may ask, what's the connection? Some people say that it completes half your religion. Some people say that certain things happen after you get married and that's why Islam promotes it. So marriage and Islam, what is the connection between the two?
Yes. To answer this question, we need to give a short introduction.
Yeah.
Islam came with the ideology of balancing between the different aspects of life and the different faculties that exist inside your soul. The verse says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا, and we made you a neutral or a balanced nation. Balancing between the different aspects of life is very important. And balancing between the different faculties of the soul is the only way for you to live a comfortable life. When it comes to the faculties of the souls, you have four main faculties. The rational faculty, the anger faculty, the desire faculty, and the imagination faculty. Neglecting any one of them will lead you to live a miserable life. Letting the last three, controlling your existence will also make you live a miserable life. Islam came to promote that we need to actively practice these faculties, but we need to control them through concentrating on the first one, which is the rational faculty. When you look at the rational faculty, you use it to learn the beneficial knowledge that can help you in this life. And Islam wants you to make this faculty the master of all other faculties, for it to dominate all the faculties of your soul, which means that Islam wants you to rationalize everything in your life. Then you move to the anger faculty. Although it is viewed in a negative way, but there's a positive aspect for it. Through the anger, you can protect yourself. You can defend yourself. You can secure to live in this life and continue living safety and to protect those who you love. If you let it dominate you, then you'll end up doing many wrong things in your life. But if you rationalize this faculty and you control it, then you can use it in a proper way. Then the imagination faculty. If you let it control you, then it will become a satanic faculty where you live in an illusion. You separate yourself from this life and what's happening around you, and you live in your own circle or your own bubble.
Yeah.
But when you rationalize this faculty, you can help it in building certain images for the future, being creative in the work that you want to do in life and so on. Then you go to the last one, the desire faculties, or ash-shahwa. In the desire faculties comes the sexual desires, which is part of who we are. It's not something to be ashamed from or embarrassed from. This is something that exists inside of us, and it must be practiced. If you let this desire faculty control you, a person would end up as an animal or similar to an animal. But when you rationalize this faculty, then you use it in a proper way or through the proper means. Islam came and suggested that we need to concentrate on all the faculties. Not like some other groups or other religions who said that if you want to connect to God, you need to suppress your sexual desires. This is not correct. No, you can reach God, worship God through your rational faculty, and also you can worship God and seek nearness to God through the desire faculties. And through the sexual desires that you have, you can also reach God if you practice it in the proper way or through the right means. And this is where marriage comes to place. Islam promotes marriage in order for us to balance between the different faculties that we have, to fulfill the needs that we have, and in order for us to live a comfortable life. If you neglect any of these faculties, you would not live in rest or be successful in your life. And this is why Islam considered marriage, according to some narrations, as half of your religion, because it helps you to be successful in your life. If you are living a comfortable marriage life, you'll be successful outside. If you're living a miserable life, you will spend most of your energy, or you will drain all your energy inside the house.
Mm-hmm.
This is a summary of this question.
Ahsan Sheikh.
Ahsan
Just one
Allah.
little question that one may ask on what you've just noted is, some people come and tell you anyone can get married. So does that mean that anyone that gets married has completed half their religion, or is there like conditions that need to be met in order for someone to be classified as, you know, you have actually completed half your religion? Because as they say, like, you can just, you know, find any Tom, Dick or Harry, as they say, and you can just get married, and it's like, you know, awesome, I just scored the title of completing half my religion. But is that the case, or is it deeper than that?
There is no doubt that we have many conditions when it comes to marriage in Islam, and that's why you'll find a lot of rulings, and they emphasize on the smallest details when it comes to marriage, or even the pre-marriage when you want to search for someone. When we answered the question, I said it's important to rationalize your desires. So when you seek to fulfill this desire, you should use your intellect and think who you are marrying. Are you marrying someone that will help you to stay in the path of God, or someone that will guide you to this path, or you're marrying someone that will keep you away or make you go astray from the straight path? So obviously there are a lot of conditions that you need to search for when you want to get married to someone.
Ahsan Sheikh. Sheikh, can you please shed some light on the verse from the Holy Quran about marriage?
Yes. So the verse in the Quran, it says, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ومن آياته أن خلق لكم من أنفسكم أزواجا. We'll stop at this part, and inshallah the second part we'll speak about it next week. Next week. So we'll start with only the first, the introduction of the verse. And from his signs that he created from among yourselves a partner. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is wise in every action that he takes. And also he is wise in every word that he mentions or that he reveals. This is why when it comes to the Quran, every term can take hours and hours for you to stop and think and reflect upon. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us. أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ. Don't they reflect on what they read? So when you look at this topic of marriage and you see that the verse started by saying, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ, and from his signs. آيَاتِهِ is the plural of what? Ayah. Correct? Ayah in the Quran is a term used to refer to a miracle. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about the prophets and what they came with in proving their message, he used the term ayah. Here he referred to marriage as ayatihi, ayah, which shows that it is a miraculous action. It's a miraculous action. Just for you to be able to bring two people together, to live together, and for them to be able to produce a new generation and raise this new generation, this in itself is a miracle. Sometimes we practice certain things in life and we get used to them. We don't stop and think how amazing they are, how great they are. When you're bringing someone to life, bringing a child to life, and you're responsible for every single thing that this child has to do. You're responsible to teach them, to raise them, to guide them. You will give them and you build them up to stay in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This in itself is a miracle when it comes to the child. Also when it comes to the partner, in order for you to live a life of happiness, a life that is full of love and mercy, is a miracle. Is a miracle. Why? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at marriage as an action that reflects his divine attributes. And this is why it's a sign. One of the names of Allah is Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, the merciful, the most merciful. One of his names is Al-Wadud, the all-loving. So you have love and mercy. The absolute love, the absolute mercy is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or exists with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He wants through this action of marriage for love and mercy to be reflected. to be built on love and mercy. And this is how it became one of his signs. Also, if you look at the term ayatihi, you see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala linked the sign to himself. When you say ayah, it's a sign. Same as when you say Rasul, for example, a messenger. I can send someone as a messenger to represent me. They would not have any importance in wherever I send them because I'm not important myself. But when I say Rasulullah, I link the Rasul to Allah, then it shows a very high status. Anything that you link to Allah, it becomes important. When you say Abd, Abd is a servant. But when you say Abdullah, it shows a great status. When I say ayah, it can be a sign for anything. When I say ayatihi, from his signs, I link the ayah to Allah to show how important marriage is. And this should make us stop and think how we view marriage. Do we view marriage based on the lustful desires only? Or do we approach marriage knowing that it is one of the signs of Allah, one of the miracles of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And then the verse continues, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا, from among yourselves. The scholars, they interpret the verse, they say from among themselves, from among yourselves, meaning to yourselves. لِأَنفُسِكُمْ. Allah created a partner for you, and He created you for your partner in order to come together and perfect each other. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from marriage.
Ahsan, Sheikh.
Ahsan Allah ilaykum.
Sheikh, what is one to look for in a partner from a religious aspect? Massive question.
Yes, very big question to be asked. So we'll use the term partner instead of using husband, wife, so it can be
mutual answer.
Yeah. for everyone.
Yeah.
Okay. When it comes to, from a religious perspective, the first thing obviously that we have to look for is the religion. If you want to rationalize this desire, then you have to make sure that the partner you're going to live your life with fears Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You should be sure that your partner will help you to stay on the straight path. We can all claim to be following the straight path, but in any moment we can leave this path. We can become misguided. Anything can happen in this life. The shaitan is there to whisper for us, to make us get away from this path. You want someone to help you. If you're going to fall, they help you to stay on this path. Religion is very important. But when you want to look for a religious partner, don't look for the rituals that they perform only. As you know, in some narrations, the Imams alayhimus salam, they say don't look at how much the people pray or how much they fast, but look how trustworthy they are, how truthful they are when they speak. You can get used to praying. You can get used to waking up in the morning or to praying Salatul Layl. You can get used to fasting, even recommended fast. You can get used to reciting many supplications. You can get used to reciting Quran. But the moment they open their mouth, sometimes you see there's no religion at all. Religion is limited to the supplication or the Quran book and to the rituals that they perform. Islam came to promote that the essence of religion is akhlaq. إنما بعثت لأتمم مكارم الأخلاق. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa says, to perfect the morals of the human beings. So this is the religion that you have to search for. What you do between you and Allah is something that I'm not going to benefit from. I want to see a religion through your actions. If you want to search for a partner, search for someone that you can see their religion through their actions and not through their rituals. This is number one, religion. Number two, the akhlaq, also, which is linked to religion.
Yep.
The akhlaq is not how many books of akhlaq you read. Again, it's not the theoretical akhlaq. We can all give lectures about akhlaq theories, but how much do we practice? How much do I practice these akhlaq? All right, this is a question that we have to ask ourselves. No one is perfect from us. Number 3, it's very important to search for maturity. Maturity is not linked to an age. You see some people in their 30s, in their 40s, and they're not mature yet. Let it be the man or a woman. You see someone that is younger and is more mature. Maturity is very important. To look how they deal on daily basis, how they live in their houses. Do they take care of themselves? Do they take care of the house? Do they take care of their family? How do they deal with their parents, for example, and so on. So maturity is very important. Can they hold responsibility with you or not? The 4th thing to look for is beauty. Beauty is important. Some people, they say, well, religious, or if you are religious, you should follow or seek only religion or akhlaq. You shouldn't concentrate on beauty. And this is wrong. Who says you shouldn't concentrate on beauty? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is beautiful and He loves beauty. Why should you not concentrate on beauty? When you live with your partner, you need to have chemistry, or there must be chemistry between you and your partner. When you wake up in the morning, your partner is not going to recite a chapter from the Quran to you or a ruling, right? The first thing you will see is their face. Either you wake up and say, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, MashaAllah, or you wake up and you say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitan ar-Rajim, right? Beauty is important. Now, doesn't mean that you go after a supermodel. There's no perfect partner in this life. If you're waiting for a prince to come on a white horse, or a princess that is waiting on the window, you keep waiting forever. You'll die waiting. And I don't know, even if in the hereafter you'll find someone like that, even in paradise. This is not what you need to seek in marriage. There's no one that is perfect in this life, except the infallibles, alayhim as-salam. Marriage is there not to find a perfect partner. Marriage is there for 2 people to come and perfect each other. And this is why Islam emphasizes on marriage. And this is why you reach a certain level of maturity through marriage, because you perfect each other through this relationship. These are the most common things or important things that you need to search for.
Ahsan, Sheikh.
Ahsan Allah.
Sheikh, very important question.
Yes.
What are some of the negative aspects of being physically prepared to be married but refuse to attention it?
So if someone is physically, mentally able to get married and yet they refuse to do it, this in itself is not recommended, makruh, to be done, to stay single. As we stated at the beginning of the show, we have the different faculties that exist in our soul. If you neglect any of them, you would not live a comfortable life. You would not live a happy life. In order for you to reach rest, لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا, to reach rest and to be happy, you need to fulfill all your desires. You need to fulfill all your faculties. Yes, you can maybe find a certain way to fulfill this desire for a certain period of time, but this will not give you the complete happiness that you're after. It creates problems in the society and also on a personal level. On a personal level, as we said, you're not going to be happy. You're not going to be comfortable, confident. You're always thinking about what's happening in your life. It drains your energy and it makes you not able to improve in life. In the society, when you have people who are able to get married and yet they refuse to do it, then corruption will spread, because you don't want to commit to any marriage, but you're still going to fulfill your desires through different means, through haram means. And this is obviously something wrong, something haram, and it will destroy the community. Look at the difference between the Muslim communities and the non-Muslim communities. In certain places, they pay them money for them to get married, right? Why? Because they know how dangerous it is for a society if the youth or if the new generation don't feel like entering into the marriage life. Families are disappear, they get destroyed, and they don't have this strong social bond between them. It's like certain tools, certain machines that are working and coming back to their homes to stay alone, and they die alone. Islam wants you to reach the absolute happiness in life. And the only way for you to reach this absolute happiness is through marriage and establishing a family.
Ahsan Sheikh. One quick question on that before we do move on. They say marriage itself is only very mustahab, it's not wajib, correct?
Yes.
So in saying so, if someone, with regards to the question that was just asked, if someone begins to conduct haram behavior before being married, obviously, I'm sure the audience are mature enough to understand what's being implied, does it then become wajib to get married?
Yeah, so marriage in itself, as we said, it's mustahab. If you're able to stay on the straight path without getting married, without committing haram, then barakallah, if you are in that level, like Yahya alayhi salam, for example. But at the end of the day, we are imperfect human beings. We are fallible human beings. And we have this desire. It's not like even as much as you claim to be religious, you'll still have a need of fulfilling this desire. How are you going to fulfill it if you don't get married? Through haram ways, correct? All right. If the only way for you to stop haram is through getting married, then it becomes wajib. If you say, no, I'm going to fast, for example, and through fasting I suppress my desires, then good for you if it works. But as we know, it doesn't help in any way. So the only way for you to fulfill these desires in a correct way is through marriage. And that's why it becomes wajib in that sense.
Ahsan Sheikh. Sheikh, with social media being a huge hit, Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, etc., the list goes on. Is it permissible for me to find a potential spouse over the internet? Second half of the question, are there any restrictions if I was to do so?
Look, if you ask from a traditional perspective, usually they will look at this topic in a negative way. Finding a spouse through social media. They will look at it in a negative way. However, seeing that we live in a more modern place and in a Western society, and we've been through this struggle in this community, and we know how much the youth struggle to get married. Maybe this is one of the best ways for the youth to get married today. Now you want to say unfortunately or fortunately, it's up to you, but this is the truth. Families are not connected to each other as they used to be in the past. People don't join together in centers and mosques as much as they used to do before. Most of the youth, they spend their time on social media. Are you allowed to speak to the opposite gender on the social media? There's two ways of answering this question. The first way, you say, no, it's haram, unless you don't end up saying anything wrong, or unless you don't step your boundaries and commit something haram. Or you can say, and this is how it's usually answered by the scholars, or you can say, no, it's allowed, it's permissible, there's no problem in it, unless, also you add this condition, unless you do something haram. I prefer to say it's halal, to make it more easy. There's no problem to speak to the opposite gender on social media, as long as you know your limits, whether you're a man or a woman, as long as you know your limits. No sweet talking, no being romantic, no crossing your limits with different things. If you're just getting to know each other in a respectful way, there's no problem in that. So it's important to look at the rulings or to learn the rulings of Islam, to know the limits. For example, once, I'll mention this story, one of the youth was asking me, or he asked me, he read a ruling that you can see a girl, before you get married to her, you can see her her hair and so on. And even you can see her body behind a curtain. Okay, that's how they used to do it in the past. He said to me, can I do it on social media or on Snapchat if I use a filter and she stands behind it? I said to him, the shaitan didn't think about this. to think about a filter and doing it, right? So it's important to know your limits when you want to get to speak. Imagine that one day your sister or your daughter will end up talking to someone. How do you want this person to speak to your sister or your daughter on social media? If you see that that the person you're talking to on social media crossing their limits, let it be a man or a woman, right? Then you should be sure that they are not the right partner for you in the future. If they are so quick to open up and speak freely, then you can't maybe trust them that much when you get married to. So there's no problem, to summarize, there's no problem as long as you know your Shari'i limits.
Ahsan, Sheikh.
Ahsan Allah ilayk.
Sheikh, what is meant by the narration which states that if someone approaches for marriage and has akhlaq and deen, that if refused, it creates corruption on the land?
Yes, so I think that should be clear from the previous answers that we gave. When someone approaches your family and you find that they have the correct religion, the right religion, they are on the right path, and they have good akhlaq, you should not refuse them or reject them just because, for example, they don't have enough money, or they're not rich, or they don't come from the same country as us, or they don't come from the same village, or from the same tribe, or from the same street sometimes, right? The things that you should care about is religion and akhlaq, as we mentioned at the beginning. If you prevent your daughter, your children to get married, then they will end up doing haram. And you will be helping and spreading corruption on earth. Without you knowing, you think your children are angels. There's no angels on earth. Even if you see them as little kids, they are not kids anymore when they reach this age. If you prevent them from marriage, if you don't help them out, if you make it difficult for them to get married, you should be 100% sure that they're doing something haram. 100% sure. There's no Maryam al-Adhra alayhi salam that lives. There's no Isa alayhi salam that lives today. This is the reality of life. So this is the meaning of spreading corruption through preventing marriage.
Ahsan, Sheikh.
Ahsan Allah ilayk.
Sheikh, can you please describe, according to Islamic law, what the difference is between a halal versus haram wedding? Example, instruments, dancing, music, etc., etc.
So we'll give the answer for this question based on the rulings of our maraja. And seeing that the most common maraja for the youth today are Sayyid al-Sistani and Sayyid al-Khamenei, may Allah prolong their lives. So, and it's a fiqhi ruling, so we'll give it based on their views. According to our maraja, if you follow someone different, go search, go and ask them. But according to Sayyid Sistani and Sayyid Khamenei, there's no instrument that is haram in itself. No instrument. Yes, some of them, they say only the darbaki, maybe they say there's a problem in it, ihtiyatan. But in general, there's no problem with any instrument. There's no problem in singing in general, unless it is suitable for the unlawful gatherings. Using any instrument is not haram unless it is suitable or similar to what is used in the unlawful gatherings. Now you told me how it's used in the unlawful gatherings. Is that the question that you're going to ask?
That's something that would definitely come up.
So the scholars themselves, the Maraja, they don't give a definition for the unlawful gatherings, right? Or how to distinguish which one is an unlawful gathering. But we can say, look at the certain concerts, musical concerts that are made where you see this loud music, people going crazy, rock and roll or metal songs or music. Maybe that's something, or where they dance and you see alcohol and corruption. Anything that is suitable for these places is wrong. Classical music, using it in a nice way, there's no problem in it. This is to music and to singing. Yes, when it comes to singing, if a woman is singing according to the Maraja, it's haram in front of men. If it's separate than them, there's no problem.
But what if she's singing something that is used for entertainment purposes, like a song from a singer?
So if they use, for example, they use the same words, you mean?
For example, if your wife decides to sing Michael Jackson to you, for example.
Right, so if it's between a husband and wife, there's no problem when it comes to singing or dancing or all that stuff. But in public, obviously there's a problem. Unless in the words there's something haram that is said. If there's something haram. Now between husband and wife, even certain words are acceptable, right? Even some, without explaining, some of them are acceptable. But in public, obviously they are not. With a woman singing in front of men, there's a problem in that. Even those who have a very extreme view about music, they say there's an exception when it comes to wedding, or what they refer to as the zaffi, when they do the zaffi. There's no problem to do that. So when you read, for example, the discussion of Sayyid al-Khu'i rahmatullah alayh, although he believes music is haram and more extreme in his view than the current Maraja, he says there's an exception when it comes to the wedding and the zaffi that is done. طيب. Now when it comes to dancing, they say it's haram. There's an exception with Sayyid al-Khamenei. He says the traditional dancing, like dabki for example, there's no problem to be done. But obviously men alone, women alone, not to hold hands together and start doing that.
But what if the dabki is associated with music that is only suitable for that? Like obviously...
No, so with the for example, the dabki, there's that, what's it called, that the thing that
the
drum that they do. But there's no problem in using that. All right? It depends on the song that is used. Is it suitable or not? But if it's only the drum or the tabl, whatever it's called, there's no problem in it. Okay? With Sayyid Sistani, Allah prolong his life, he says no. Dancing in general is haram. In front of men or in front of women. So even for women to stand and dance with women, it's haram. Where you can dance, he says only husband and wife, they can dance to each other. But in front of others, there's a problem.
Yeah.
Right? So that's with the singing, with the music and dancing. طيب. Then you have the mixed weddings. Having a mixed gathering in itself is not haram. Now, I'm not trying to make everything halal, but again, as we answered the previous question, you say it's not haram with conditions. A mixed gathering is not haram to sit down together, men and women, as long as there's mutual respect and no one is crossing boundaries and so on. And also with another condition. According to the Maraja, they say a woman should not have makeup on. So you can't go to a mixed wedding, whether you're the bride or anyone that is attending there, and you have 10 kilos of makeup on your face, for example, right? This is something haram because it's considered as a zina, and the zina is haram, according to this Maraja. So yes, you can have a mixed wedding, right? You can have a certain kind of music, certain type of dancing according to Sayyid Khamenei, the dabki, but with following the Islamic rulings. And the brothers, the sisters who are planning to get married, there are certain books or even articles online that they can refer to in this regard.
Ahsan, Sheikh.
Sallallahu alayhi.
Very nice clarification
Thank
there.
you.
Sheikh, moving on. If both parties, this one's another very important question because it happens a lot nowadays.
Yes, yes.
If both parties want each other, so guy wants the girl, girl wants the guy, but the parents aren't accepting and there are no major faults from either side, such as none of them drink alcohol, there's no drugs, no gambling, bad reputation, etc. What can one do here?
They can do a majlis. What they can do. Right. So, from a Shari'i perspective, like the ruling itself that says, according to the Maraja, they say if they are both mature, they know what they are doing. And there's nothing wrong with each side, with the man or with the woman. But yet the parents, they are very stubborn and they don't accept this marriage. They say there's no problem for them to get married.
Without the parents?
Yes, if they are mature, if they know what they are doing, and the parents are just being stubborn and they want to prevent them from marriage, no, they can do it, because again, they will end up doing something haram if they stay without marriage, right? However, it's not something that we should recommend or encourage. You don't want to start your marriage life with problems, especially with your in-laws. And that goes for both sides. The moment you start problems with your in-laws, then that's it, the end. And you can say the end from the beginning. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So it would be better to get some people, influential people, let's say scholars or people that the family respect, in order to try to convince them. Don't give up quickly and try to find a way to convince the parents. Usually when you give it time, they will change their mind. That's what we see in the community with certain problems that people face. After a while, they agree on the marriage. So we shouldn't encourage the ruling where it says, go for it and don't worry about your parents, because it's something very dangerous for you to do from both sides. And it's also good to be respectful to your parents and to respect your parents. So try your best to convince them, and inshallah, by the time it works out.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Ahsan, Sheikh. Sheikh, there is a thing, it's quite popular in a lot of, you hear a lot about it, but it's something that, we're kind of unsure if it has a solid ground behind it, which I'm sure it doesn't, but inshallah you can clarify. There is a thing known as Fatiha, when a potential couple are trying to formalize things. Is this a thing? Does it make the marriage more halal, so to speak?
Fatiha is recommended for someone who dies. And when someone dies, you do Fatiha for the 3 days. This is the recommended thing.
Yeah.
So if you're viewing marriage as death, then do a Fatiha.
Yeah.
There's no religious basis for it at all. Maybe it's something that people were introduced to through certain Egyptian shows where they say, let's read the Fatiha, right? But in religion, there's nothing. When you read the Fatiha, you don't become halal on each other, right? And this is a problem sometimes. You see, you go what they refer to as tulbi today, to do the Fatiha and the tulbi. You go with them, you go with some people to do the tulbi. And straight away after they read the Fatiha, you see the two sides shaking hands with each other and kissing each other. Right? Relax, it's not halal. Wait for us to leave first. Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't make you halal. What makes things halal between you is the marriage contract. Is a marriage contract, and it's something that you should try not to delay when you're getting to know someone. If you take long in taking a decision, or if you take long in doing the contract, you will end up doing something haram. Right? Religious people, if they care about their selves or care about their children, should always encourage them to get married, to do the contract quickly. It doesn't mean that they move in straight away, but they get to know each other, they become halal on each other with limits, obviously, and they can put these limits as a condition in the contract. They say, for example, one of the conditions is not to have any sexual relation until you move in together. Okay? But in this way, they become halal on each other. So they're sitting down, they're talking all day in a halal way. If there's no contract between them, you either have the contract between you and your partner or the shaitan between you and your partner. Choose which one you want.
Yeah. Ahsan, Sheikh.
Ahsan Allah ilayk.
Sheikh, what are some of the main questions you can advise people to ask about the person they are wanting to get married to? That's a very important question because you have a lot of young people that get married and they come and ask the older generation, or even someone that's young but may have been married for some time. And they tend to ask all these questions, like sometimes you hear people, oh, I even know her favorite color, for example, oh, he drives this, he drives that.
Yeah.
But obviously these questions don't really get you anywhere, because when they start to have problems, they start to say, oh, I didn't know that your temper was short, I didn't know that you have a short fuse, or I didn't know that you're violent, and. So what are some of the most important things to inquire about a person from the person, so to speak, before getting married to them?
Yeah. So instead of saying inquire about the person, we should say acquire from the person.
Yeah.
Right? Because some people, they go ask about someone from other people or from other sites. And that's something wrong. It used to be good in the past. For example, in the past, you used to go and ask about the family. And if that's a good family, then the girl or the boy would be good. But today there's a gap between the parents and the kids.
Yeah.
You can find the best parents and the worst kids.
Yeah.
You can find the best kids and the worst parents sometimes, right? So ask them instead of asking about them. If you're sitting down, you're not going to sit down in a court and start asking questions to the person, right? It doesn't work like that. You need to test them through their actions. And in order to see their actions, you need to be halal on each other. Now, this may seem a bit extreme. I'm not saying for them to do Katb Kitab or the marriage contract straight away, but after a while, few weeks, a month, they should do the marriage contract together. Why? Before the marriage contract, you're sitting down around the family members. You're not sitting down together. Now, Allah Alam, some people, they sit down and they up and down together. But I'm saying it with religious people, speaking about religious people. Now, other people, it's up to them. They want to do the wedding with their children, up to them. But for religious people, we're saying, when you go, you're sitting down with the family. In front of the family, you'll be restricted in the way that you talk, in the way they speak. You try to present yourself as an angel. Right? And even if you're sitting alone, if it happens that you sit alone together, if there's nothing halal between you, you're always going to present yourself in a good way, trying to impress. But the moment you become halal on each other and you start going, for example, out together, you start spending more time planning, then the partner will be able, or the person will be able to judge the attributes of, or the personality of his partner through the way they react to things. This is not going to happen in the house when you're sitting down next to your parents. It doesn't happen. The person can put thousands of masks and present himself as the best person. This is why I don't encourage, for example, those who say, let's just talk to each other, we'll do the Katb Kitab, and then we'll move in after 1 week. We move into where? You're going to move into hellfire because you don't know each other, right?
Yeah.
It's important after a few weeks, if you find that there's a good foundation, there's something and you can build on, everything is, you're comfortable, do the marriage contract and then get to know each other. If it doesn't work out, barakallah, everyone can go to their way, but it will be in halal with the limits that you put down. If it works out, you'll know the personality of your partner, and then it becomes easier for you to move in and live together to establish a family. So ask or see the way they react to things. This is the religion, as I said at the beginning. It's not about the rituals. It's not about the sweet talks that they say. It's about how they react to things in front of you. How angry. No, well, as we said, anger is one of the faculties that we have. We all get angry. But do we know how to rationalize our anger or not? Do we know our limits? Do we know where to stop? do we get extremely angry where we forget who's in front of us, or we get physical, for example, and so on. So judge your partner based on the way they react to things.
Ahsan, Sheikh.
Ahsan Allah.
Sheikh, if someone approaches you as a friend or a relative or whoever it may be,
Yeah.
and asks you for your opinion on the person that they are wanting to get married to, is the person that's being asked allowed to state what they know about the person, considering the fact that it could jeopardize the marriage?
Yeah. So, in other words, backbiting, to backbite them.
Yes, about something
al-ghiba.
that they're sure about.
Yeah. Even if it's something that they're sure about, if the other person doesn't like it to be exposed, and you go speak or say it, this is ghiba. It's backbiting. However, there's an exception when it comes to ghiba. If you believe that this is something that they need to know, something that will affect them in a negative way, then there's no problem for you to go and speak. But if you think that it's not going to affect them in a negative way or to harm them, then there's no need to speak about it. So you have to judge and see whether it's important or not. No one is perfect from us. Maybe I know the good side and the bad side of Hajj Ali. You know the good and the bad side of Nami, and so on. If you know that the bad side is going to affect someone, yes, you should go and speak. Amr bil ma'roof and nahy anil munkar. But if you know that this bad side is not going to harm them or affect them in a negative way, then there's no need to do it.
Ahsan, Sheikh.
Ahsan like that.
Sheikh, many females nowadays ask for divorce to be in their hands or stipulate conditions as for them to have a way out if such and such happens.
Yes.
Is this something that should be promoted
Something that should be promoted.
nowadays?
رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري. Look, there's different aspects to it. From one side, we can't deny that there's certain injustice that takes place against women in Islam when it comes to divorce issues, where a man refuses to divorce and the poor lady starts running from one sheikh to another, from one organization to another to get divorced. Some of them stay 7, 8, 10 years without being divorced. So there is a problem there. From the other side, there's a extreme push for the feminism and women's rights and all that stuff, where both sides are extreme. Those who oppress women from so-called Muslims, and also from those who are calling for feminism without understanding the meaning of feminism. If feminism means to have women's rights, to have equality in certain aspects, there's no problem in that. Personally, I'm not someone who likes to follow the trends and just stand there speaking about feminism and the feminist movement in order to make some people happy. This is not who I am. I speak about women's rights and men's rights at the same time. I speak about the importance of being respectful as a man and being respectful as a woman at the same time. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. It doesn't say وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا Adam only, right? The verse. We have honored Bani Adam, men and women. I'm not going to go into the discussion, the fiqh discussion of marriage and divorce. Is it in the hands of man or not? Should we change this? Should there be any reformation to or how they deal, the jurists, how they deal with these issues? This is something beyond the capacity of this show. But what I need to speak about or to concentrate on is the ruling of the Maraja. The ruling of the Maraja today, regardless of my view. You're not here to listen to my view. You're here to listen to the view of the Marja. You follow your Marja. According to the Maraja, they say that the asma, or the power, the authority of doing divorce is in the hands of the man. It's not in the hands of a woman. So in the marriage contract, you can't say, no, the authority is in the hands of the woman. It's not allowed. Yes, there's a way of doing it. When you do the marriage contract, a woman can put down a condition and say that I want to become wakila, yani to do the divorce on behalf of you. So you put the divorce in my hand, this is the meaning, on behalf of you. When we want to get divorced, or if I want to get divorced, I divorce myself on behalf of you through the wikala that I do. So they agree. If they agree together and they put it as a condition that she's going to be representing him in doing the divorce herself, there's no problem in that. Any day, if she wakes up in the morning and she's angry, she can say, I want to divorce you on behalf of the wikala that I have. You are taliq, طلقت نفسي منك. I divorce myself from you. Wassalamu alaikum. Yeah, it can be done this way. But when you're going into the marriage life, you're not going into a battlefield. This is the problem. Some people, they think they're going to fight in a battlefield. They start thinking, subhanallah, they're building up theories, how I'm going to start attacking my partner, how I'm going to start a war with my in-laws, how I'm going to keep my partner away from their friends, and so on. So they go in with negative thoughts. Marriage is there for you to build each other. And this is why I don't encourage the idea, personally, the idea of having the authority in the hands of a woman, or to completely have it in the hands of the man. Right? I said it's a long discussion. It's more suitable if you have a fear where you feel that a certain man would not divorce, if la samahullah, a divorce will happen in the future, will not divorce the woman. It's more suitable to put the authority, meaning to give the wikala, to the scholar that is doing the contract. So you say in the contract, the marriage contract, you put a condition that the wikala is in the hand of the scholar. So any day, if there's any problem between them, they want to divorce, even if a woman wants to divorce, she can come back to the scholar and the scholar can divorce them, instead of them reacting quickly and divorcing each other. Right? Because the scholar usually, that's what they're supposed to do, to calm them down, to help them out, to find a solution, and if they can't, then they do the divorce. This is more appropriate than having the authority in the hands of a woman. And also, to be realistic, it affects the man. Now you're going to say this is against the feminist movement, against the women's rights, but at the end of the day, this is our culture and this is our community, whether it's good or not, whether it's right or wrong, but this is how we think. Or this is how the community thinks, so I don't include myself. This is how they think. If you say, I want to put the asma in the hand of my wife, you'll feel that someone is taking your manhood away from you. So it can affect and create some negativity between them. This is why it's better not to do it. And if you're scared, put it in the hand of the scholar.
Ahsan, Sheikh.
Ahsan Allah.
Sheikh, so the last two questions, inshallah, and we're pretty much right on time.
Always on time.
Dowry. Please discuss lightly what the best of dowry is. In this instance, Sayyida Zahra, salamullahi alayha's dowry. And what narrations say about hefty dowries.
Al-Mahr or dowry, we have a term that is called Mahr al-Sunnah or Mahr al-Sayyida Zahra alayha salam. Mahr al-Sunnah or Mahr al-Sayyida Zahra refers to the dowry that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi gave to his wives, and the dowry that Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam gave to Sayyida Zahra alayhi salam. Back then, the dowry was 500 dirhams. 500 dirhams is equivalent to 1,200 grams of silver. This is the recommended dowry that a person should pay. Now, how much is that? I don't know. You have to go and see the price of the silver today. If you know, you can say it.
No, I don't know,
Okay.
but I know that I know someone that did ask for that dowry,
Yes.
and I think at the time, excuse me, it was about I think $800 or $900 Australian.
Okay, oh, that's cheap. Good.
Yeah.
So the mahr is 1,200 grams of silver, which is equivalent to, let's say, $800 to $1,000. Okay. According to the narrations, or some of the narrations from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, they say شؤم المرأة غلاء مهرها. That it's a negative thing for a woman, or brings negative things to a woman when she asks for a very high dowry. And this is a problem in certain communities. Once we went to ask to do a marriage contract to someone from a certain community, and the father said, we want to bring a scale and weigh the dora, and you'll pay gold that is equal to the weight of my dora.
That's the only time you'd wish you had that.
I said, quickly I said to the father, I said to him, we're coming here, the brother is coming here to marry your daughter, not to buy a sheep or a cow, right? That's the problem. You're not selling your daughter. There's something very disrespectful to ask for gold. You're marrying the daughter of Queen Elizabeth or someone. Like, yes, you love your daughter, but this is not a thing that will make them happy just to ask for money. And especially knowing that Islamically, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, you should not go above the dowry of the sunnah, mahr sunnah, which is 500 dirhams, 1,200 grams of silver. As much as you love your daughter, who can say that my daughter is better than Fatima Zahra alayhi salam?
No one.
Who can say that I am better than Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam, or Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi? If they did this and they paid this amount for Sayyidatu Nisa al-Alameen alayhi salam, then no one can say I'm better than Sayyidah Zahra or better than Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam. The akhlaq, the deen are more important than the money that they will pay you. It's just a present. The dowry, you should look at it as a present. The present is not about how expensive it is, right? You've seen in this country, without mentioning names, some people who made massive weddings, correct? Thousands of cars, helicopters, and all that stuff. After a few months, they got divorced on the news, right?
Yeah.
Nothing happened. No. Did it help them in any way? No. So this is why, if you want to live a happy life, start it in a correct way, without selling yourself. You're not selling yourself. Follow the mahr sunnah. And alhamdulillah, I see with the new generation, especially with the religious generation, the new religious generation, they don't usually ask for much. And when I do the marriage contracts to few people here and there, I'll see they put Quran and Hajj. Quran and Hajj. This is something that became common. But if you want to follow the Sunnah and to receive more reward, then do Mahr Sunnah.
Sheikh, Hajj 10 days, about 10 grand, 12 grand.
Yeah, that's why maybe it's mu'akhar. But that's better, follow Mahr Sunnah. And this way you'll be rewarded for following the path of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi and the path of Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam.
Ahsan, Sheikh. Sheikh, the final question, inshallah. What's the role of women pre-marriage being single? A lot of the roles of women that are spoken about is usually involving marriage life, motherhood, etc. But pre-marriage is always ignored. What is her role towards her family, community, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
So again, yes, we can agree that there's a certain oppression in the way women are viewed in certain religious circles, the way they are treated in certain religious circles. And also there's oppression in certain rulings when it comes to women. It is a topic that needs to be discussed properly in order to follow the Quran and the correct teachings of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam about it. To see how the view of Muslims changed by time. And I'll give you an example. They mentioned that during the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, he was sitting in the mosque. There was women and men sitting. And there was no curtain between them back then, or walls, or on a different level putting for them TV. No, they used to be in the same gathering. So while he was speaking, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, a woman stood up and she said, Zawijni ya Rasulullah. I want to get married, Ya Rasulullah. Imagine a woman or a girl that does that today. In the middle of the mosque, the Maulana is talking and she stands up and says, I want to get married. What would happen to her? That's difficult. That's how it is. And the Prophet said, who wants to get married? Another man stood up, or a man stood up, and he said, go sit with each other, talk with each other, and get married. It was that easy. And they had this freedom, even women back then, they had this freedom of standing, or this confidence of standing and asking to get married. Right? Also, they had the freedom of learning. Some of them were scholars, whether the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam or other women, they were in a position of being scholars, whether in a good or an evil way. Some of them had a business that they used to run, like Sayyidah Khadija alayhi salam. Now, it doesn't mean that she herself used to run it. Maybe she had people doing it, but she was a businesswoman at the end of the day. They had this independent, they had independent personality. They were confident and strong. Later on, you see that in certain Islamic places or times, the way Muslims started looking at women changed. Completely changed. And this needs a historical discussion why it happened and who influenced the Muslims or the Arabs, especially because this is where Islam started, who influenced the Arabs and entered this mentality into Islam. But today there's a problem. I don't want to lock myself to the negative way women are treated. And I don't want to open the door wide in front of the feminist movement without understanding or having a proper definition for it. Okay? وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا, to be balanced. I refuse to follow any trend. I like to start my own trends. So I'm not going to trend women's rights just to make you happy, or men's rights just to make you happy. No, to balance between each of them. Today, without locking ourselves or opening the door widely in front of the modernity, we say that women have the absolute freedom to study, to go out, to build themselves, to establish their own business, to reach the highest levels, let it be at work, in the government, or anywhere, as long as they are following the religion of God. You can do anything you want as long as you take care of your modesty when it comes to the dress code, and you know the halal from the haram. And you don't need a police after a woman, yani halal haram police after a woman. Halal haram. No. Tell the girl, tell the woman, same as you tell the man. You know what is halal and you know what is haram. And you should always remember that there is a God that is watching. Do good for Allah. If you do bad, Allah is watching you. And she can do anything she wants. I'm not with those who say, let's just lock the woman in the house and that's it. Or let's just put a woman inside a cage and that's it. No. A woman has the absolute freedom to do whatever she wants as long as she's abiding to the Islamic laws.
Ahsan Shaykh.
Ahsan Allah ilayk.
Jazakumullah khair. That's our show for tonight. Inshallah, we've all been able to benefit from tonight's questions. And inshallah, next week we will link this week's topic to what happens after marriage. So inshallah, that one will be for the people that are already married, as I'm sure you will be able to relate to certain questions that the single people might not have no idea about and what's happening. But inshallah, that's for next week. Sheikh, Jazakumullah khair jaza for being with us today. And inshallah, we will see the Sheikh again next week for post-marriage discussion. That's us for tonight. Jazakumullah khair jaza. Take it easy. Fi aman Allah.
اللهم إنا نشكو إليك فقد نبينا صلواتك عليه وآله وغيبة ولينا وكثرة عدونا وقلة عددنا وشدة الفتن بنا وتظاهر الزمان علينا، فصل على محمد وآله وعنا على ذلك بفتح منك تعجل وبضر تكشف ونصر تعز وسلطان حق تظهر ورحمة منك تجللنا وعافية منك تلبسنا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.